And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast in the entirety of the internet that believes that you should probably wait a few days to see what the information is before you start mouthing your frickin' face off.
Yeah, that's right. That podcast is hosted by two doctors who are not
doctors at all. It's true.
Yeah.
We are a walking paradox, Chris.
We are a walking contradiction, a walking paradox, and here we are, and in a very eventful week here in both the U.S. and the U.K. for two different reasons, but somehow they are both very connected. So I'm Dr. Silverstein, and
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
He's Dr. Armshaw. Yes, he's Dr. Armshaw. And without any ado, let's get into this because obviously there's the big thing, but there's something big in the UK. So, Patrick, outside of the obvious news, which we'll talk about in the second half, there's a huge thing going on in the UK. The Labour government has a huge problem, specifically Kier Starmer, and the name of that problem is Lord Peter Mandelson.
Ah, yes, Lord Peter Mandelson. He is known as, to some in the UK, the Dark Lord. This is how he's referred to because he is a lord. He was made a lord. I think he sits in the House of Lords, or at least he could do if you weren't otherwise occupied. He
was granted a life peerage at some point in the past, 10, 15 years. I remember when it happened because it happened just after I moved here. And I think for this episode, I think I need to be very clear in this particular episode that the opinions that are stated in this episode are mine and not of my employer, the S&P Westminster Group or the S&P. So let's just get that out of the way now for everything that'll be said and everything that is said on this podcast. But Mandelson was made a baron a while back, and he had a position in the Blair government. And his issue was that he was called, I believe, the Lord of Darkness. Yes. And he was an incredibly controversial figure who had to resign from the Blair government twice, I believe.
So what was his role during the Blair government, Chris, when he was a member of the Blair government?
I don't know. I don't remember what his role was in the Blair government.
Was he the person who was sort of in charge of dealing with the media and whatnot,
that's right. No, his role was basically being a fixer and sorting out issues in the media. And it is often assumed that the character from The Thick of It that Peter Capaldi played is actually based off of Mandelson. It's so much so that they've sat Mandelson down and watched it, and he's just like, never mind. This is Mandelson's job was to sort out issues, I believe. At least it's rumored that he sorts out issues for Blair to make things happen or make things go away. His other positions in government were a minister without portfolio, which allows him to do that, gives him the space to do that. The Secretary of State for Northern Ireland and the business secretary. That's all while he was an MP. And his most current role is as the ambassador to the United States, or should I say that was his role up until Thursday morning.
Yes, and I think it's worth unpacking that just a little bit. So Peter Mandelson is, let's be blunt here, he is a controversial figure in the British political scene. He has more than enough bad blood with a large amount of the Labour Party. So he's not like a super popular dude, basically. Now, why would he have been picked by Kier Starmer, noted most rect of the uprights, ex-barrister and director of public prosecutions? Why would this upstanding man pick Peter Mandelson, who's sort of known for being a prick? Why would he pick him to be the ambassador to the United States, Chris?
Now, that is a very interesting question. And it turns out that Peter Mandelson and Donald Trump had a friend in common.
Oh, did they? Did they have a friend in common?
They had a friend in common in the name of...
That's always helpful.
You guessed it. Jeffrey Epstein.
What? The Jeffrey Epstein?
The Jeffrey Epstein.
Incredibly prolific child rapist?
Yeah. And so and we need to always be clear here that just because you knew or associated with Epstein doesn't mean that you are 100% on board or aware of everything that happened, because his contact book had tons of people in it, tons and tons. Absolutely. He met everyone.
Yep. But he was good at meeting people.
He was good at meeting people, but there was one thing that makes a difference between if you know him or if you knew him. And that is if you were approached for his 50th birthday leather-bound handmade book that was compiled by Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yes. So, now that book, it's important to say that the letters that were compiled in this book, you're absolutely right to say, Chris, were leather bound, i.e., that book is a physical artifact. If something is bound into it, it is bound into it. If something is removed from it later, you can tell because, there's like a missing page, and you couldn't put something new into it after it was bound without that being immediately obvious, basically, because you'd have to undo the binding.
It's a book.
Exactly. So if something is in this physical book, it's an indication that, that letter dates from when that book was published, when it was compiled, when it was bound. Now, it's also important to notice that just because you wrote Jeffrey Epstein a letter for his 50th birthday to be bound in the book does not mean that you were aware of everything he did. One of the people who did provide a letter was his mother, for example. And I have to think that she was not, at least, God, I hope not, aware of or involved in anything. So, there is that. On the other hand, what kind of stuff did Peter Mandelson write in his letter?
I think we need to talk more about, before we get to what he wrote in his letter, we need to talk about what other people wrote, because this book, the Trump administration, context is important. The Trump so in this book, there are people like Bill Clinton, Peter Mandelson, Donald Trump,
Alan
Dershowitz, a whole bunch of people were in this book. People that
a guy named Joel Pascoe, whose name you're going to be hearing an awful lot more of, I suspect, in the coming months.
Yeah. So we have all these people who decide who Ghislaine Maxwell thought, if you want to make Jeffrey Epstein feel better, or give him something nice for his 50th birthday, these are his, I would assume, core people to go to, because she put something in there as well. And this book isn't just a selection of pictures and nice little letters about, when we met, we didn't no, these are almost all sexual in nature. And this also contains the infamous Trump drawing of a woman, and with his ridiculous screenplay inside about enigmas never age and may every day be a wonderful secret, signed in Donald Trump's signature, which
because they have certain things in common, Chris.
Because they have certain things in common. So
won't tell you what, but certain things.
Yeah, and other things that were in this book were, and for me, there are two things that I note about the book. One, that there was one picture that was a hand-drawn, like almost, I feel, either painted or crayon, and it had two things, like a box of a group of girls in 1983 with Jeffrey Epstein kind of standing over the girls as they were all toddlers, and then there was a picture of those girls in 2003, and they were all massaging and servicing Jeffrey Epstein. Some of them weren't wearing
appears to be servicing him quite directly.
And so, like, that's something that was deemed appropriate to go into the book. There's a lot of apparently naked pictures of various women and men in the book, and amongst this milieu of letters and pictures came one from Lord Mandelson. But at the time, it was, I guess, 2003 or 6, I don't know, when this book was put out. And Mandelson was still, I think he had just been removed. If it was in 2003 or 2006, I don't think he was in the government after 2004. So he put out, he sent a letter to Epstein saying something like to the effect of, hey, to my best pal, Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
And
specifically.
And it had pictures of him and I believe potentially his partner on the way to the I should say in a boat in the water. Don't know where that boat's going, but we might be able to assume it's going to an island or something where a beach is. And then there are other pictures of, I think, Mandelson and Epstein. I believe they were kind of sitting in a pool, maybe. And also underneath one of the pictures, I think it's like, to my best pal, happy birthday, yum yum.
I have the quote here.
Good.
BBC's
Good.
website.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, like, in addition to all sorts of fun stuff about how, once upon a time, an intelligent, sharp-witted man they call, quote, mysterious, parachuted into my life. And he goes on to say that he would bring people over, and then he would disappear just as quickly, leaving him with his new friends, which is an interesting and very mysterious thing to say. But it ends up with saying, but wherever he is in the world, he remains my best pal.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
And that's important, because this guy, he obviously, Mandelson was deep enough into the inner circle of Epstein's operation or life where it was deemed okay for him to contribute to a book. I mean, it's a 50th birthday present, so it's not a small thing, especially when it's composed by your, right-hand woman. So, and accomplice. So
I think you could reasonably view the people who are contributing to this book as being, if not his inner circle, then certainly the people that Epstein wants to believe are in his inner circle, right? I mean, this is the kind of thing you don't get asked to contribute to this if you walk his dog,
Yeah, exactly. And also, who knows what was going through Epstein's mind, but you want to keep some of these people very close. Clinton is in that book. Clinton doesn't write anything nearly as creepy as anyone else.
What is it that Clinton writes? Like
something like, you've done a lot to help the world or something.
Exactly.
Because Epstein had a lot of money. And so I'm sure that money made it to charities or something. But,
I'm quite certain that is the case. Nonetheless, I think it definitely raises questions. Why is Bill Clinton in such close relationship with him? I think if you're going to be compiling a list of people who, should be willing to answer some questions openly and honestly and not at all try to hide anything, Bill Clinton is definitely on top of that list. So Jeffrey Mandelson, he's in that book. And of course, that's potentially problematic.
Peter
Mandelson. What did I say?
Jeffrey Mandelson.
Jeffrey.
Not his name, but we need to make sure everything is.
That's an interesting moment of conflation, kids. Look it up.
Yeah.
So Peter Mandelson, the Dark Lord, is in that 50th birthday book. But that's not all.
That's not all.
Yeah, because, after it turned out that had happened, I think people started raising questions, and Kier Starmer came out and said, no, I have every confidence in Ambassador Mandelson, which was, in retrospect, not a smart thing for him to have done, because just a few days ago, Bloomberg, the news organization, got a trove of 18,000 emails from Epstein's email account. Now, somehow they got a lot of those emails. 18,000 emails. And there's quite a lot going on there. One of the emails, for example, was Ghislaine Maxwell asking Epstein to review a list of 51 names and say who should be removed or added to his quote unquote power list. And Epstein's response was 2 words: remove Trump. Which is interesting, because this is 2006. This email happened, I believe, which is around the time of him being arrested and his first his first brush with the law. But amongst the other emails, you also had emails from Peter Mandelson after he had been investigated while the question of sentencing was coming down, and Peter Mandelson was saying things like, "This is a travesty of justice that you've been convicted of this. This would never have happened in Britain," and that is not a great sentence there. It is true that the age of consent in the United Kingdom is 16. Whereas in most states in the United States, it is 18 years old. It may be that Peter Mandelson was under the impression that Epstein had slept with a 17-year-old. And that's what all the fuss was about. And therefore, he was simply saying there was a legal distinction between the US and the UK. But, also, if your friend's having sex with 17-year-olds, that should not be your friend. Don't hang out with that man.
Yeah. It makes the fact that he was writing to him, and I believe that after he was convicted, unless you've already said this, after he was convicted,
exactly,
Mandelson sent a message to him saying, "We're going to fight this."
Yeah, which it's wild. It is wild, because what kind of a moral universe do you have to live in to think that it is an obscenity and a breach of justice to hold someone accountable for raping children?
Yeah, I think it's clearly like the rich guy thing, where it's like, it doesn't matter. Deny. It's the Trump thing. It doesn't matter what you've done or what you're accused of. Just deny it.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next thing as quickly as you can. Tell him you're going to sort it out in 2 weeks. And he's so rich that, he was so rich that that you could see that, like, they believe that nothing can touch them. If you're going to get engaged in this kind of activity and believe that, you're never going to get caught, you're going to believe that a lot of things aren't applicable to you. And if you're going to associate in those circles and you're going to get up and hang out with these people, you may have forgotten that they're the billionaires and you're not, which I believe that we're looking at Mandelson for this one. And there's another side to the story because, like you said, on Wednesday during Prime Minister's questions, the leader of the opposition, Kimmy Badenoch, basically took all of her 6 questions and asked, just drilled in on this open goal, by the way. It wasn't like this is a political coup. It's like, duh, this is what you talk about.
Well, it is kind of amazing that Kimmy Badenoch still managed to pull it off. Like this is seeing her walk successfully without tripping and exploding something is, it's a rarity.
It's a walk and talk is, good for her. And he said, like you said, he was going to give him his full backing within less than 24 hours. That was gone because of the trove of emails that came out where he was supporting him after he had been convicted. The problem is that apparently the government Starmer knew that these emails had come out. According to Mandelson,
he had full confidence in Jeffrey Mandelson, or not Jeffrey Mandelson, Peter Mandelson.
Let's just say Lord Mandelson.
Right? I'm going to say Lord Mandelson.
Lord Mandelson, right? Because it's easier and it also lets you know where he's currently at. And so now you have this problem. So in the past few months, we've had the transport secretary have to resign because of a kind of a I'm going to say a light fraud charge, where I think she had something stolen, and then turns out that it wasn't stolen, and then
it was her phone, right? Yeah. Where she reported her phone being stolen, but it wasn't stolen; it was lost, and then she says she found it later, but then she didn't inform the insurance company, or maybe she just decided that she was going to put in a faulty claim for a phone. Just for fun.
So there's that one. There's a homeless minister who raises the who kicked out the family that was living in the house and then raised the price of the house.
Yeah, that's not a good look. You have Angela Rayner, the deputy leader, who was just turfed out because, I will still argue that I don't think you should expect anyone to sort of immediately know about how tax law works. Admittedly, she does appear to have fallen afoul of tax law in terms of, whether or not she had a second home, because that home was in a trust for her son who was disabled thanks to,
malpractice
of the NHS. Malpractice, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but either way, this keeps happening. It keeps happening.
And now he's lost his ambassador due to associations and support of a child sex criminal.
Yeah. It's it raises some questions about whether or not Kier Starmer is up to the job, quite frankly. Seriously, this is. I don't think he's actually any good at politics, Chris. I think this may not be his. To be honest, he might be good at politics, because if you know that Trump knows Epstein and you know that Mandelson knows Epstein, if you know that they hang out in the same corners, there's a reason why Mandelson is in the White House and they can speak the same language and talk about the same stories, potentially. That is true. And if you're trying to get Trump on side and you think you could make a deal with, the mob boss, then it makes sense to have a good lickspittle toady that you can throw at him, right?
And he did make a deal. He's going to be here next week for a state visit, the second state visit. That's incredibly rare. So he gets to hang out here twice. He gets another state dinner. He gets, the presentation in front of the troops and all that. And
he gets to skeeve out King Charles.
Yeah, he gets to hang out in Buckingham Palace and be like, I made the White House look a lot better than this. He gets to be totally crass and horrible in a different country.
So what does Britain get? What does Britain get again?
I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. We'll see. There's a number of trade deals kind of floating around in hope that the tariffs are not so bad that they collapse certain businesses.
I'm just gonna point out, right, that even if we did get a quote unquote trade deal with the United States that reduced tariffs to only 10%, which is already absurd, Trump can renegotiate that deal at literally any time. It's like Kier Starmer never watched The Empire Strikes Back, Chris.
Okay, you need to finish that one.
Oh, I'm going to.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
You know what I'm talking about because you've seen the movie. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, Lando Calrissian, one of the greatest characters in the entirety of the Star Wars universe, played by Billy D. Williams.
William D. Williams.
That was brilliant. Yeah.
William D. Williams.
Just beautiful. But so he betrays our heroes when Darth Vader comes to his, to his gas mining colony or whatever. Because,
Bespin.
He's like, all right.
Bespin. Well, it's the floating city of Bespin.
The floating city of Bespin, right? So the Empire is there. Darth Vader is there. What are you going to do? This is force majeure. He's like, I had to make a deal. I have to make a deal. This is how I can protect my people, is by shopping you guys. I'm really sorry, but that's how it's got to be. Except that almost immediately Darth Vader betrays him. And, when he says, we had a deal, Darth Vader says, I am altering the terms. Pray I don't alter them further. Because you can't make a deal with Darth Vader. He's Darth Vader. If he breaks the deal, who do you talk to if Darth Vader
Who do you appeal to? The Emperor.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and this is the problem with dealing with Donald Trump. You make a deal with Donald Trump, and that lasts exactly as long as Donald Trump decides it lasts. And Donald Trump can change the terms at any time, which means there is no such thing as a deal with this man. If he breaks his word, there's no one to appeal to.
True.
There's not even an emperor to appeal to.
Or an EU to back you up.
Well, exactly.
So I guess we'll have to see how this works because, in any other, I think if this happened like next year or, the following year, we'd be in election territory.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't think we're there yet. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But we will spend a majority of the time on the next subject, which we will speak about just after this break.
See you in a bit.
And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope that was the pause that refreshed.
The pause that let the pause on you, as cats do when they sleep. That's a little gentleness before we talk about the horrific murder.
Yeah, that got a little bit weird, but I think you pulled it out, Chris.
Thanks.
You pulled it out.
Thanks.
Yeah.
As we talk about the fact that that amongst the several shootings this in the past week in America.
Yeah, there's been a few, actually.
There's been a few shootings over the past week, 10 days. The one that everyone is talking about is not the, I believe, Minnesota school shootings.
Yeah, the one where...
No, not Minnesota. I'm sorry. Columbine, Colorado, the Colorado school shootings. And I think that there are also school shootings in Minnesota. They are talking about the fact that Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was murdered while speaking at a college campus in Utah.
That's correct. Charlie Kirk was 31 years old when he was killed. He founded his organization, Turning Points USA, in 2012 when he was 18 years old. So he was very young, but he's been out this for quite some time.
Over a decade. It's over a decade, really.
Yeah. No, 12, 13 years, basically. A lot of people actually credit his organization with increasing support for the Republican Party and Donald Trump in particularly amongst college students. And many people argue that he played an outsized role in Donald Trump's victory in the November election. In bringing Donald Trump back to power. I am not in a position to say how much I believe that claim. But it doesn't seem crazy to think that he certainly had an impact. And he's been, if you're the kind of person who lives, your whole life online and hyper focuses on American politics, like moi, then you've known who Charlie Kirk is for quite some time.
Yeah. But there are people here in the UK who are not aware of who he was and what he advocated.
Why would you be? You'd have to be a real obsessive, basically, to be aware of him.
Yeah, but he was part of a global far right movement.
That's true.
Like a Christian-based, what we say, Christian nationalist-based movement in America that is definitely, trying to be instilled here and in Europe.
In fact, I think Turning Point does, in fact, have a British subsidiary. I think they have.
It does.
Yeah. So,
and like there, you can see that this kind of like Judeo-Christian political merging all over, because it's not like it's a new thing. This is not a new phenomenon. This is, old school European politics.
Yeah.
This isn't. But it's what was interesting about what Kirk did, and I'm using interesting in a very blandest sense, is that he would go to college campuses. He would set up a tent or table, and I'm sure it went from table to now massive tent. And then he would get into debates, in quotes, with passersby, but his views were not just right wing and not just conservative, but like backwards. I mean, he like, it's like Taylor Swift got married to Travis.
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce. Thanks. He got and he literally said, "Well, you have to submit to your husband." Yeah, Travis. This is Taylor Swift. If anyone's buying anything in that house, it's going to be her. She's one of the biggest stars in the world, and he's like, seriously, you know the deal. He's a man. You're a woman. Yep. You make sure whatever he says goes.
Yep. Like, well, this is the thing. Like, he's not just he was not just an incredibly retrograde social commenter. He was also someone who had a long history of making, anti-Black, racist, anti-Semitic statements. This is a guy who my goodness. Okay. So January 23rd of 2024. So this is not that long ago. He was quoted as saying, "If I see a Black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified."
Yeah.
Which is the kind of thing you say if you are a racist, and the kind of thing you do not say if you are not a racist, because it wouldn't occur to you to say that if you're not a racist. Good God.
And why do you need to say that? And people are like, well, that's not racist. He also said that, Michelle Obama and Ketanji Jackson, they only got their places because they're of their color and not because of their skill. I'm paraphrasing what he said. But, and people are like, well, that's not racist. He's just saying facts. And I'm like, well, he's never said that about a white guy.
Yeah. And also
I can't find anything he's ever said like negative about a white guy on his side.
Well, that's the thing. It's also not facts, right? I mean, Ketanji Brown Jackson is one of the most qualified picks for the Supreme Court we have had in a long time. So this is a woman who has a long judicial record. She has worked in all elements, not just in the judiciary. She worked as a public defender. She is someone who has a huge amount of trial experience. She writes incredibly well. All you have to do is read her decisions, and you can. They're online. They are models of clear, concise, and incisive reasoning. Like, they're good stuff, man. Like, they're good stuff.
Yeah.
So to basically, and when you compare that to, say, Brett Kavanaugh, who, is not exactly known for being one of the leading lights of the Supreme Court. His, reasonings tend to be incredibly cack-handed. And in fact, if you read his concurrence that he just wrote for the racial profiling case that the Supreme Court just handed down, that basically said ICE is absolutely allowed to racially profile and just sort of scoop up anyone who looks Hispanic, citizen or not, for questioning and possibly detention. His reasoning is bad. It's bad. It's clearly deficient. It's, the kind of thing you write if you're, not super bright, but you know what you want to say.
Exactly. So, you know what you want, what the outcome you want is, but you have to find out, you have to kind of finagle your way there to get to that point.
Exactly.
He has a history and well chronicled list of things that he has said, including things like, and again, I paraphrase, but, people dying by gun violence is a price you pay for the Second Amendment.
Now, he did say that, Chris, but to be fair, he said that immediately after a school shooting where 3 children were killed.
Right.
And in response to the 3 children being killed, he said that, you're never going to have no gun deaths in an armed society. That's impossible. So it's a rational decision for us to accept some children being killed every year so that we can have the Second Amendment.
Well, he said some deaths. He didn't say his children. I mean, I think it could be anybody dying from gun violence.
He said it in the context of a school shooting where children were killed.
He
literally said it in response to it. There's no way to read that statement as otherwise than saying, yeah, well, some kids died. Well, so be it. We've got a Second Amendment to protect.
We have a Second Amendment to protect. So we're giving a flavor of
Yeah.
who this guy was.
Yeah.
Sorry. And what he did, and the other part of this is that he was an incredibly well curated political operative. Now,
Yes.
on the right now, we are seeing this outpouring, this beatification of Charlie, who people are saying all he did was want to have respectful debate, and I can show you proof, and we'll put the proof in the description of him having that respectful debate. Now,
respectful debate,
absolutely, where. But he would go to campuses, he would talk to people who were not nearly well as informed as he was and weren't getting paid nearly as much as he was.
Right.
The guy was on maybe $300,000 or $400,000 a year from just random report. Being
a right-wing political operative, it tends to pay. Billionaires, it turns out, like putting money into organizations like Turning Points USA. That's how they got started, by the way, as a right-wing billionaire. Foster Friess decided to pump a bunch of money into them to create them.
Because the idea is that you would send these people onto college campuses, and then you would tell the people on the college campuses that they shouldn't be there, that they should be at home, or they should be working, or they should be doing something, but they don't have to be in a college, because colleges and universities are kryptonite to billionaires.
Yeah, the last thing you want is an educated society. Yeah,
the last thing you want is an educated society, because they're going to start asking questions like, why aren't you paying enough when I'm paying all these taxes and I can barely afford my food? And you're sitting here complaining because your third yacht doesn't have enough gas, right?
Yeah, so, when you've got an extra, several million to pump into Charlie Kirk and his organization. I kind of feel like, there's probably better uses of that money from a social standpoint, Yeah,
but that all being said, I don't think that he should have been shot below the clavicle.
Oh, absolutely not. Like, let us be very clear. The official stance of this podcast is that political murder is murder, and murder is both a crime and horrible.
Yeah, and murder is bad. I don't think we have to be too verbose about it. It's just bad. People shouldn't be murdered. And Charlie Kirk wasn't the general of some army who was, fighting in a war. He wasn't, actively shooting back at somebody. He was just sitting there doing what he does, which was antagonizing people on a campus where there was an active petition to make sure that he wasn't there, and he came anyway because the campus said that they wanted to be there on a campus which allows you to have guns on campus, because they do in Utah.
I feel like maybe they might want to revisit that. Just saying.
But none of that means that I'm sitting here, tipping back a drink to. And I gotta say this: I accidentally watched the video of him being murdered.
Oh shit!
I didn't realize what it was because, unfortunately, when Trump got, somebody shot at Trump and killed a whole bunch of his supporters that we never talk about.
One supporter of his was killed. Another was injured. But yeah, like he was an ex-fire chief, actually.
He was an ex-fire chief, and when you saw Trump get shot at, I was like, okay, well, that didn't look so bad, and they put it on television and stuff. And so when they said, Charlie Kirk's been shot at, I'm like, because at this point nothing had been confirmed.
Right. That exactly right, and so he wasn't dead yet at that point.
Well, and then I. It happened because it was all over, all over the internet. It was all over social media, and I happened to take a look at it, and that was horrifying. To watch a person go down like that, it was horrifying. I'm not saying that it was, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But the other thing you think about is, and a lot of people have been saying it, is that so many children would have seen the same scenes of their friends in school shootings.
That is true. That is a true fact. And it is also a true fact that Charlie Kirk is on the record saying, well, sometimes, you just got to accept some gun deaths to have a Second Amendment. I do feel like if his response to, hearing about children getting killed is to say that, I don't think anyone is under any compulsion to say that, therefore, they're going to mourn his death more than they would say the deaths of children in school shootings. I'm just going to say that.
But it is happening. So
yeah, in fact, it happened that day. It happened the exact same day. Some children were killed in a school, and no one's talking about that because the American media and the American sort of political classes don't really see that as important anymore.
It's pretty commonplace in America to have children be murdered in schools. It is not commonplace for right-wing political activists and operatives to be gunned down in a red state.
That is true. That is true. And to be fair, there was video of Charlie Kirk getting shot, and you saw it without realizing what it was going to be. And I bet a lot of other people online did too. And if we're going to explain why there's such a much bigger reaction to his shooting death than the shooting deaths of children on the exact same day, I think part of the explanation has to be we're used to hearing in the abstract about children getting murdered.
Yeah.
It's become the background noise of living in America.
Yeah.
Seeing it, though, we never see it.
We never see it.
And
it's not a thing that, like, it's,
Yeah.
I kept on thinking was that, remember in the 90s when people are like, movies are too violent and they're encouraging people to commit violence, right?
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of violent movies. I've seen plenty of violent television shows with blood, gore, and guts and all of it. It was nothing like that. I mean, nothing, like, because like in movies and in television shows and in video games, it's all acting and it's all stylized. This
it's
was
not real.
It's not real. Therefore, when you see it in a movie, it's like, oh, but then you can always say it's a movie, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, and I think there are studies that prove that it doesn't mean that people are going to immediately pick up a gun and start spraying bullets. It has nothing to do with video games or movies. But like when you see it in real life, that is, and I only saw it on video. I wasn't there. Like his family, his wife, and I think one of his kids were there as well.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, and so, this, what should happen from this moment in American history is that you have a person on this side of so many debates, like Second Amendment, freedom of speech, things like that, who got shot in such a gruesome way in front of 3,000 people. You would hope that the legislators would come together to try to, now that a person from their side has been, brutally killed for it, they would try to figure out some answer to try to restrict, how easy it is to get guns. But that isn't what's been happening over the past 72 hours.
No, and I think we really need to focus our attention now on what that reaction has been over the course of the last 72 hours. Because we have talked about Charlie Kirk, we have talked about who he was, we have stated explicitly that murder is bad and you shouldn't do it, and Charlie Kirk does not deserve to get murdered.
Yeah.
But Charlie Kirk was perfectly fine with violence against his political enemies. And it seems that, well, Donald Trump is too. So in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, Chris, it seemed like a lot of, well, the entirety of the Washington Democratic Party, right? The federal the federal Republican Party came out almost in a unified voice saying this was the result of the Democrats calling us fascists. This is clearly the result of a trans, leftist, anarchist.
Every minority you could think of.
Exactly.
They mushed all the words together to be an anarcho-trans, Marxist, anarchist, whatever, right?
Exactly, right. So, without any evidence whatsoever of who
Zero evidence.
It was just assumed that it had to be, because who else would want to kill Charlie Kirk, who was, a racist, anti-Semitic, blowhard, basically. Now, as it happens, the shooter has now been caught. The shooter's name is Tyler Robinson. And I feel bad for even saying his name, actually, because people who do this kind of thing, they do it to get famous. And I don't want to be contributing to that. So, yeah, sorry, everybody. I kind of wish I hadn't said his name now. But he comes from a conservative Republican Utah family. He comes from a middle-class background. He was someone who apparently was, by all accounts, apolitical until relatively recently. And he's also someone who appears not to have been activated by left-wing ideology, but instead activated by internet culture and a video game called Helldivers 2. Because the reason why I say that, right, is that the bullet casings that they found had etchings on them. And the etchings had phrases like Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, 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 which is interesting. We'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But also something that said, hey, fascist, patch.
Yeah.
Which is a hell of a thing to write on a bullet casing. But also things like OWO, bulge found, which is apparently a reference to furry culture, which
It's
is a
an
whole
emoticon.
thing.
It's basically a kind of emoticon that
Yeah,
is
so like
it's for the kids, and I don't really understand much about it. But
this is in the
I had to look it up.
yep. Yeah, this is in the realm of skibbity, basically. Like, if you already
Yeah.
know what skibbity is, like, that's kind of the thing we're dealing with. And if you don't know what skibbity is, like, don't Google it, man. Like,
Don't look it up.
yeah, you got other things to do with your brain. It's fine. You're old. You're allowed to ignore skibbity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so, like, basically, this seems to have not been the result of, like, a left-wing person wanting to take out a right-wing speaker, but rather may well have been connected to what's known as the Groyper Army.
Which I have no idea what that is, and
Oh God, I am sorry, man. I'm about to destroy your brain.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the Groyper Army is basically like a subset of the extreme MAGA movement.
Right.
Their leader, if you can call it that, is a guy by the name of Nick Fuentes.
Oh, come on. I know who he is.
Yeah, you know who Nick Fuentes is. So
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes, for those of you who are not in the know, he's young, he's online, and he is a Nazi. I mean, literally.
Yeah, no, he's an actual Nazi. Like
he's an actual Nazi.
Yeah.
He was Kanye West's like campaign advisor when Kanye West was, claimed to be running for president. He is a noted anti-Semite, extremely virulently racist, and is very often straddles the line between saying hateful things online and calling for violence. He doesn't step over that line, at least not in a way that's legally actionable. But so what's interesting is that the Groyper Army in 2019 split from Turning Point USA, and in fact went to war, in their words, with Turning Point USA, and has basically been, the dedicated enemy of Charlie Kirk, not because they are leftists, but because Charlie Kirk is basically too woke.
Yeah. Okay. So, that might explain the difference. So, as Patrick was saying, before we knew the identity of the killer, Trump put out a statement effectively saying this is a left-wing attack, an assassination upon Charlie Kirk and effectively the MAGA movement. And all of the kind of high-level MAGA people were saying things that ranged from avenge Charlie to this is war to
this is our Reichstag fire, and now it's time to start arresting Democrats. Yeah,
this is our Reichstag fire, and now it's time. And again, to say this is our Reichstag fire, I don't think you understand. If it's your Reichstag fire, not the Reichstag fire, that means that you were the ones who did it. What I find interesting is that after you were talking about the Groyper thing, is that the minute that the identity of the kid came out, all of the notes changed online. It went from hang him, death penalty, to pray for him, pray for his soul, pray for
Nancy Mace, the representative from South Carolina, who's currently running for governor of South Carolina, when the shooting first happened, called the shooter a tranny. And said that this is all the fault of Democrats. The second that it came out that no, he's conservative, Republican, possible fascist, her response became, I know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for him to find Jesus. It is impressive.
The switch was wild. And it's good. I mean, we could have tried to do something on the day of, but I think it's good that we're able to have this extra information now.
Absolutely.
Because these people were trying to whip up a pretty strong fervor, trying to basically say that it's time to go to war with Democrats and the left, and that sentiment's still out there. It hasn't gone away, and it's not going to go away.
And it's important to realize just how dangerous a moment this was. The response to the killing of Charlie Kirk by the Republican Party as a whole was to basically call for political violence against their enemies. When Donald Trump was specifically asked about what he could do to bring America together, since there are violent actors on both the left and the right, he said, "I don't care." And when people on the right are violent, it's because they're worried about crime. But people on the left, they're trying to have open borders and transfer everyone, and so that's the real danger. So that's incredibly disturbing because what he's saying there is right-wing violence is fine. Only left-wing violence is a problem. And
which
so,
is, sorry, but
yeah,
so which with that is a noted tenet of competitive authoritarianism. You
yeah,
need you need political violence on your side,
yeah,
in order
exactly.
to maintain your position as an incumbent, but not a supported incumbent. Um,
Mm,
uh, yeah,
yeah,
and let's not forget that the day after this all happened,
hmm,
the DNC got a credible bomb threat, and three
yep,
HBCUs, that's historically black colleges and universities, I think
that's
Clark
right.
Atlantic and two others, both got
Hmm.
credible bomb threats.
Yep.
If you look at the identity of the killer from Utah, from some trade school in Utah, it's not
Yep.
somebody who went to some HBCU, or it's not somebody from the DNC headquarters. It's just an excuse at this point. You're just looking
Well,
for an
yeah,
excuse to start shooting liberals.
yeah. Shooting liberals, shooting black people, shooting trans people, shooting Latinos, because that's what has been happening in America for years. The Great Replacement theory, which was, let's be very clear, A, put forward by Charlie Kirk, but B, originated by literal online Nazis,
Yeah,
has already led to multiple mass shootings in the United States, where basically, fascists went and murdered just a bunch of Latino people at a supermarket, or a bunch of black people at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York.
yeah,
Um, this is common. This happens a lot. Right wing terror is a very big problem.
and
Left
underreported.
wing terror hasn't really been a problem like that since the 1970s and the Weather Underground.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah,
50 years.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, and you're right. These people are being told, like the guy who was looking for cosmic pizza and the children underneath cosmic pizza, right?
oh God, yeah, Pizzagate.
Pizzagate, right? So
Hmm.
these made up stories are created, and then you just kind of let the cards fall where they may.
It's
And
the
then
phrase for this kind of thing is stochastic terrorism.
stochastic terrorism, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And it gives you like plausible deniability to say horrible things.
yeah,
You're not saying, take out your gun and shoot somebody. You're just saying, here is all the threats that
yeah,
are around you. OPS, almost none of them are real,
yeah.
but you are telling them that they are real, and
Hmm.
therefore, somebody is going to take it way too far.
What's interesting about that from a legal perspective, right, is that if you call for violence, right, that can fall under incitement, and that can be against the law, right?
Yeah,
So, like Lucy Connolly, the woman in Great Britain who put out a tweet immediately after the killings in Southport, saying burn down the migrant hostels, with the women and children in it, kill them all. That she was arrested for that because she was calling for the murder of innocent people through arson, which is not legal, right? Like that's
yeah,
an actual crime, and she was punished for that. And obviously, the right wing in America declared that this meant Britain is a totalitarian society without any freedom of speech. But no,
yeah,
no, no, no. Incitement to violence is a crime under any theory of freedom of speech. Like it's just that's not okay, and everyone knows it, right?
yeah.
Um, but what's interesting is that the right wing in the United States has really specialized in not crossing the line of calling for violence,
Not
but
outright. No.
instead basically putting forward a narrative where if you were to believe everything that they said, you would be willing to commit violence.
It,
Like
it,
if you actually believe that gay people are all organized in attempting to rape your children, right? If you actually believe that that was true,
yeah.
right? Then you might very well decide I need to protect my children, and that means violence, right? Which is why it's so dangerous to say things like that, because it's not incitement to violence, but it's saying to a large number of people, some of whom are not right in the head, and some of them have guns. Here's a
Yeah.
story that would justify violence if you believed it.
If you
You
believed
know?
it, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, this is the problem, and like I don't see this so much on the left because I mean, where you would use the same tactic on the left is like
Mm.
about climate change and saying, hey, we need to
Yeah,
make sure that we don't die from a planet
yeah,
that's too hot or too cold. But
yeah,
if you were to like, and I do read, as I've said before, conservative Reddit, and I mean, first off, this is a massive time of mourning for these people
Mm.
on conservative Reddit, for the conservatives. Again, it's as if there's not been any shootings before.
Right. The first school shooting that has been a real problem for the right in America.
Well,
some people have said.
Some people have said that. Yes, this is. Yeah. And but at the same time, the rhetoric from the conservative Reddit, the right wing MAGA social media area, is that we are not the dangerous ones. It's only the radical left. The radical left are the ones who put the entire country in danger. They're the only ones who shoot the shots. They're the only ones who call for violence.
Yeah.
And they all believe that. And this is how I think about it, because I've been thinking about that concept for a while. The thing, I'm assuming that a lot of these people who watched Charlie Kirk only watched the curated clips where he gets some girl normally to have a go at him, and sometimes it'll be some girl who's like a very liberal hippie girl. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll just be a girl who's angry because, as we know, educated women, like educated white women as well, they don't like it. They don't like him. They don't like MAGA. They don't like the idea because it specifically restricts their rights and liberties.
I mean, when you've got an entire political organization dedicated to turning you into a second-class citizen, people tend not to like that. I don't know.
They tend not to be okay with that, right? And so, but if you're only watching, Charlie Kirk just, demolish these people because he gets paid 300, 400 grand a year to travel around the country. Basically, right. I'm assuming he may have done his own research, but I'm assuming there was a team of people doing research for him to hand him the bullet points, to hand him enough information so that he can go and just spit out facts, because that's his only job. He's not like us. He didn't have a 9 to 5. He didn't have, he wasn't working his ass off.
He's not busy going to class.
He wasn't busy going to class. He dropped out of community college. So,
because he wanted to found his political agitprop store,
and it makes more sense if you want to be, let me be nice here. If you want to have a lucrative career, and you figured, I mean, that's the answer, right? So if you're
you can make a lot of money that way,
and he did. If you're only looking at, specifically curated clips of how he of his well-rehearsed responses to questions.
Let's be nice and call
of debates, right? Then you could think that all he's doing is telling truth to these ignorant liberals. Why are they so upset? And he was very, very religious. He was very American Christian. I think it's the best way to put it. So he is hitting the right notes for MAGA, right? He is. I think he was a huge recruiter for them to get people into the tent and to make it okay to say and do the things that you may think it's not okay to do outside of the tent.
Right.
Now, I don't know how many people would have seen the clips of him when he went to Oxford or Cambridge. I don't, one of the two. He went to Oxbridge, let's say Oxbridge, to debate in the Oxford Union. I think it was the Oxford Union.
Okay. All right.
Now, you and I both know, because we live here, the Oxford Union's no joke. Like, it's not, and sure, they're going to be a majority college kids, members of the union, but these kids are going to be well informed. And he came in there with his Turning Point USA energy and was just getting ripped apart time and time again. Now, I doubt that was going to be all over his website. So that's why these people are treating him like, this fallen hero of the right, because you don't post your L's.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. It's curated. Like the whole, I mean, my God, we've had the internet now for 20 years, something like that.
30 years.
Proper internet culture, though, right? Social media. When do you date the start of social media? Because whenever the hell Facebook started, right?
2003 ish.
Exactly, somewhere around then. I'm not looking it up. I don't care. But the important thing is, it's been long enough that, my God, everybody, we know that if someone is posting shit online, it's because they want you to see it. We have to get better as a society, is realizing if someone's flashing cash on their Instagram, if someone has a Lamborghini on their Instagram, that doesn't mean they own it. Maybe they just rented it. It's fake. It's literally fake. If somebody gives you financial advice on Instagram or on TikTok, and they're not like, I'm a paid financial advisor and here's the proof that I know what I'm talking about.
I've seen videos of people telling you, don't pay your credit card bills. Don't pay back your Klarna because Klarna is not based in the United States, so they can't come after you.
Oh,
That's a real thing
perfect.
somebody
There you go.
said. That's a real thing somebody said online. You can't just listen to any old dickhead online who gives you information. That includes us, unless you can prove that you know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Which includes us, because we always say that we're doctors, but not doctors.
Exactly. We don't give medical advice. We don't give legal advice.
We don't give financial
advice. Exactly, right? For God's sake. No, we are pure edutainment, as I think we stated in our opening episode. So and we stand by that. That's the doctors not doctors promise. That we will tell you things that we think are true, but maybe we're wrong. Could be wrong. Check it out.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for us to say that we have all the answers. We're just giving you our take, and we're not telling you what to do, with the exception of go out and vote and go out and learn more and go out and engage your communities.
Like,
get off your phones, turn off the internet for an hour or two, because that's where the shooter may have lived. He may have been. We don't know the motives behind the shooter 100% yet. That'll come out in trial. But the problem, the shame here is that as soon as the identity of the shooter was put on television, everyone knows about the problem with young white boys and shooting up groups of people. Everybody knows that problem because it is a majority of them when it comes to churches and malls and supermarkets and schools.
The vast majority of mass shooters are young white men. That's just the facts.
So we have to make sure that we are curating an internet culture that says, ask questions, triple verify, and then talk to somebody in the real world, which is how this guy got caught. He got caught because he talked to his dad. And then and then his dad was like, okay, you need to turn yourself in. Apparently, the shooter then said he would prefer to shoot himself. And then the father called in the pastor. The pastor talked him down and also reported him to the cops. And then the cops were able to arrest him. So I don't know. Maybe the lesson there is don't talk to friends and family, at least if you're going to be a murdering sociopath. Well, but before you go out and pick up your gun and decide that you're going to start spraying bullets, because my biggest concern now is that, and maybe we end with this. So no one's really talking about it, but in the UK there was an attack, I believe, yesterday, of a Muslim woman, I believe, as she was walking home. So basically, this happened on Tuesday. This woman got attacked in a racially aggravated way. I don't know everything about it, but I do know that over the past several weeks and months, there's been this big push in the UK online to say that this country is under invasion. And what happens is exactly what you're saying. Somebody says we're being invaded. They're not saying go out and attack the first brown person you see.
Right.
But it happens.
It gives a permission structure.
We don't like violence, and we don't condone it. But it isn't. But it is a fact of life that people can be violent.
Yeah.
So we need to be very careful about what we say and do in public, whether it be online or in person. And
I think it's important to realize this isn't an issue of like, well, that's an infringement on your freedom of speech if you have to think about what you say if you have a public megaphone. That's just saying, in order to not cause horror and misery in this world, you have a responsibility to use your freedom in a way that doesn't cause horror and misery in the world. Like it's and if someone does use their freedom to do that, call them out, know what it is that they're doing, and realize they may have a legal right to do it, but that doesn't mean that they're everything is fine and it's perfectly reasonable. It could very well be that what they're doing is giving a permission structure to someone crazy, to someone with guns, to someone with incredibly ill motives, to then take it out and harm innocence in this world.
Yeah.
So I'll say that, I guess.
Yeah. There's always an opportunity to try to learn more from outside of the bubble in which you live.
Yeah.
And there's always better ways to deal with disagreements than to throw fists or get out your knives or pick up a gun. And America is learning again this week that inaction means that there will be repetition of the same action at a later date. And we don't know who it will be, and we don't know why. But the 60s were a horrible time for politics in America, and I hope we're not getting back there. And I suppose we will see where we are next week.
Yeah.
But as
Till then.
always,
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And we are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.